Good morning and welcome to the news. Our top story of today, it appears that the rates of tonsil cancer has been increasing in the UK over the last 20 or so years. Here's Robert Peterson to fill us in. Thank you, Jeffany. Yes, it's true. It appears as though the rates of tonsil cancer has almost tripled in the UK for young men, and these numbers have also been reflected in the US and in other parts of the world. Now, we don't know exactly why this is, but we do know that it correlates with rising infections of HPV. I'm sorry, Robert, did you say HPV? Yes, Jeffany, that's exactly right, HPV. You mean HPV? Exactly, HPV. No, HPV. Yeah, HPV. 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 While they're arguing over the pronunciation of the letter H, let's just revisit what this reporter just said. The number of young men in the UK who are getting tonsil cancer is increasing, and this is linked to rising infections of HPV. But what exactly is HPV? Well, HPV stands for Human Papilloma Virus. So, that means that it's a virus that infects humans and causes small bumps of cells to grow, which are known as papillomas. As a virus, HPV isn't technically alive. You see, viruses are just small bits of genetic material that are covered by a shallow salt, known as a capsid. In the case of HPV, this genetic material is a small bit of DNA known as viral DNA. This viral DNA is coated by the capsid. But what does this viral DNA do? Well, first, let's have a look at what DNA does in our own cells. In our cells, DNA acts as a sort of instruction manual that tells the cell what to do. The products that it makes helps the cell to do all the things that it needs to do in order to survive, such as grow, store food, and divide to make even more cells. And these products are known as proteins. The instructions for each protein is known as a gene, and there are around 20,000 in our DNA. So, just to revisit, DNA is a collection of instructions that tells our cells how to make proteins. The essential purpose of a virus is to make more of itself. This is known as replication, and it's a complicated process that requires many different specialized proteins. However, unlike the cell that it infects, the virus doesn't have its own machinery capable of making proteins from its own viral DNA. The virus must therefore hack the machinery belonging to the cell and use it in order to make its own viral proteins. Once these viral proteins have been made, what do they actually do? Well, the ones that are made have many different functions. Some of them will form new viral parts, like the capsid. Remember, this is the part of the virus that surrounds that viral DNA. These proteins help to make new viruses that can spread the virus and infect other cells. Other viral proteins interact with proteins that belong to the cell. When they do this, they are able to change the behavior of the cell that it has infected. Some of these behavioral changes include making the cell grow bigger. They can also prevent the cell from reacting to damaged DNA. Normally, the cell would recognize damaged DNA and either repair it or kill itself to prevent further damage. Also, the cell normally controls how much it grows and divides to ensure that only healthy cells replicate and only when more are needed. But the viral proteins remove this control. This is what causes small papillomas to grow when you become infected with HPV. The viral DNA is able to integrate itself into the DNA of our cells, effectively hiding it. Now that the viral DNA is hidden, the cell will make viral proteins without realizing it. Cells with damaged or mutated DNA are normally prevented from replicating and are killed off by our body's immune system, but cells with virally integrated DNA will replicate anyway. The more cells with DNA damage accumulate, the greater the chances of a cancer-causing mutation to appear, and so, after enough time, these cells will become cancerous. So what is being done about HPV infection and tonsil cancer? This is Dr. Sally Roberts. She and her team of researchers at the Institute of Cancer and Genomic Sciences at the University of Birmingham have been looking at the life cycle of HPV and tonsil cells and how it can lead to cancer.
Much of the research on HPV and cancer has been done in cells of the cervix. We know a lot about the HPV life cycle in the cervix. We know much less about how these viruses replicate in tonsil cells. We are growing complex layers of tonsil cells in the lab. Into these cells we have inserted viral DNA to establish HPV infection. We can now use these models to recapitulate the life cycle of the virus. We can use these models to get a better understanding of how this virus causes cancer at this site. Using these HPV tonsil models, we hope to be able to identify new druggable virus cell interactions that can be used to treat these tonsil cancers.